CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? Someone sent me a TikTok link from the dark web. It was a live stream of my street, 2 days in the future. I don't usually click random links people send me, especially not from an unknown account with a username that looks like someone slammed their head on the keyboard. But this one, this one got me. It popped up on my Instagram DMs last Tuesday, around 1:17 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was lying in bed watching TikToks of people making McDonald's hash browns in air fryers, and the notification cut right through the sound. The message was just a link. No text, no hey, nothing. And it didn't even look like a TikTok link. The preview said tiktok.darknet://livefeed.stream, which already sounded wrong. Normally, I would have deleted it. But here's the thing. Right under the link, there was a single thumbnail image of my street. Not just any random Google Street View screenshot, but my street, exactly how it looks right now. My neighbor's blue Honda was parked in the wrong direction. He always does that, and somehow never gets a ticket. My trash bins were still out from Monday pickup, and there was this faint yellow glow from my upstairs bedroom window, which meant it was live. I sat up in bed, locked my phone, unlocked it, and looked again. The thumbnail wasn't static. The leaves in the trees were actually moving. I didn't know TikTok even allowed that kind of live stream preview, let alone some shady-looking deep web address. So, like an idiot, I clicked it. It opened in my browser, not the app, and immediately went full screen. The camera was positioned somewhere outside, maybe on a rooftop or a utility pole, aimed right at my block. I could see the glow from the 7-Eleven sign at the corner, the reflection of streetlights on the wet pavement. Everything. The timestamp in the top left corner caught my attention. August 10th, 2025, 11:54 p.m. At first, I thought it was wrong, because that date was 2 days away. I stared at it for a good 30 seconds, trying to wrap my head around it. The camera panned slightly, like someone holding a tripod was readjusting. Then, without warning, the screen flickered, and the feed jumped to a new angle. Still my street, but closer. It was aimed right at my driveway now. I leaned forward, looking for anything weird, and that's when I saw it. A figure, standing perfectly still on the sidewalk across from my house. They were wearing a black hoodie, with the hood up, head tilted slightly down, so I couldn't see their face. They weren't moving, not even swaying. The feed had no sound, but I could feel how quiet it was, even through a screen. I wanted to close the tab, but my hand just hovered over my phone. Something about this felt wrong in a way I can't explain. And then, before I could react, a chat message popped up on the live stream. User 48V9. See you soon. I froze. I didn't type anything, I swear. But another message appeared. At streamer. Thursday night. I backed out so fast, I accidentally hit my home button twice. screenshotting my own panic. I locked my phone and tossed it onto the bed like it was going to burn me. For the next hour, I just sat there, lights off, scrolling through Instagram, trying to convince myself it was some elaborate prank. Maybe Google had some creepy new Street View update. Maybe it was just a pre-recorded video of my block from earlier that day. But then I checked the weather app. It said it was going to rain Thursday night. And in that live stream, the street was wet. I didn't sleep that night, or the one after. And now it's Thursday. It's raining, and there's someone standing across the street again. But this time, I can see their face. This one's going to be exactly what you ask for. Long, unsettling, cold, and dripping with that calculated, human-like cruelty in the details. It'll feel like a disturbing crime thriller unfolding in real time, with a grounded reality that makes it far more unnerving than anything supernatural. No repetition from part 1, but it will escalate the horror and give you that "I can't believe this is happening" feeling. Part 2. Thursday night. The rain wasn't just falling, it was pressing down, heavy enough to muffle the world, but not so much that it hid what I was seeing. Across the street, that hooded figure hadn't moved in the last 15 minutes. They were just watching. Not the casual kind of watching you do while waiting for an Uber, but that dead, patient focus that makes you want to crawl out of your own skin. Their hood was still up, but the streetlight above them flickered once, and for a split second, I caught their face. And I swear to you, they were smiling. Not the kind of smile you give a friend, but one that looked carved there. Wide. Too wide. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the camera app, zoomed in as far as it would go. The raindrops kept streaking the lens, but the figure's head turned exactly toward my window, like they knew what I was doing. And then my phone vibrated. A notification banner slid across the top of the screen. Live comment on your stream. It was from that same deep web TikTok feed. I hadn't clicked the link again. I hadn't reopened it. Yet somehow, it was still sending me notifications. Against every ounce of judgment I had, I tapped it. The live stream opened instantly. No loading, no delay. And now the angle was inside my house. It took my brain a few seconds to process what I was looking at. The camera was low, like it was on the floor, pointed upward toward my living room window. I could see the glow of the TV, my own reflection in the glass. And upstairs, a faint shadow moving in my bedroom. My bedroom light was off. I tore my eyes off the screen and bolted for the front door, double-checking every lock. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the keys. When I glanced back through the peephole, the figure across the street was gone, but the stream on my phone, it wasn't. The angle had shifted again, now aimed directly down the hallway inside my house. Someone was in here. I should have called the cops. That's the normal reaction, right? But my mind wasn't operating normally anymore. All I could think about was how they'd gotten in without me hearing. The locks weren't broken, the windows were shut, and the camera angle was so steady, it didn't feel like someone holding a phone. More like a GoPro mounted somewhere I didn't know about. I crouched, phone in one hand, kitchen knife in the other, inching toward the stairs. Every creak of the wood felt like it was echoing straight into whoever was watching. Halfway up, the live stream cut to black. A second later, white text appeared on the screen. Don't run. That was it. I snapped. I ran upstairs anyway, turned the light on in my bedroom, slammed the door, and shoved my dresser against it. Then I noticed something that made my stomach cave in. On my desk, right next to my laptop, was a plain white envelope. I hadn't left it there. I would have seen it before. My name was written on the front in tiny block letters, like someone had used a stencil. I didn't even want to open it, but I did. Inside was a single Polaroid. It was me, sitting at my desk, wearing the exact same hoodie I had on right now. But the photo was dated in the corner. August 12th, 2025, 12:04 a.m. That was 3 minutes from now. I don't remember breathing. I don't remember thinking. I just stared at that date until my phone chimed again. This time, no notification banner, just a loud, harsh ping like an alarm. The live stream had returned, and it was the same image from the Polaroid. Me, sitting here, looking directly into the camera. Only difference, in the stream, someone was standing behind me. I dropped the phone and spun around so fast, I knocked my chair over. Nothing. Just my bed, my closet, my dresser still blocking the door. Then my phone pinged again. I picked it up. The chat was blown up with messages from accounts that all looked like strings of random numbers. 74KX. Check your closet. RN3RF. He's patient. RBK772. 12:04. It's 12:03 right now, and there's something moving in my closet. I don't believe in fight or flight. That's something you say when you've never frozen in place. Every muscle tensed so hard, you feel your own pulse in your gums. The noise from my closet wasn't loud. It wasn't banging or scratching or anything out of a horror movie. It was just the quiet shift of weight, like someone trying not to be heard, but their own breathing keeps giving them away. I could hear it over the rain. I could hear it over my own heartbeat. I didn't move for what felt like minutes. My phone was still in my hand, screen dimming every few seconds, lighting up the dresser in short bursts. The live stream hadn't cut out. It was still showing me from a slightly higher angle now, like the camera was looking down at me from inside the closet. That's when I realized the camera wasn't just in there. Whoever was holding it was inches away from the door. The messages started again. Not slow this time, but a constant flood. At 13KX_, open it at 000T. He hates waiting at F4Q9. Don't make him knock. My breathing must have sped up because the phone mic picked it up. The comments switched to at NK02. Too fast at 7MJ1. Calm down. They were talking to me. I thought about calling 911, but my phone battery was under 5%, and the live stream was draining it like crazy. So instead, I did something incredibly stupid. I crouched low, keeping my eyes locked on the closet, and slid my hand across the carpet until my fingers closed around the handle of my desk chair. With one quick movement, I hurled it at the closet door. The sound that came back wasn't a thud against wood. It was a grunt. The door didn't swing open. It just rattled slightly. The live stream on my phone shook too, like the person inside was adjusting their grip on the camera. Then the chat went silent. Not a single new comment. Just the hum of my phone and the rain outside. I reached for the knife I'd dropped earlier, but before I could grab it, the closet door handle slowly started to turn. It didn't open all the way, just enough for a single hand to emerge, pale, with dirt packed under the fingernails and a small, fresh cut across the knuckles. The hand held something between its thumb and forefinger. It was my car key. The rest of the door opened then, inch by inch. My first thought was that the hoodie was wrong. It wasn't the same as the figure from the street. This one was wearing a dirty grey zip-up, the hood down, hair wet and sticking to their forehead like they'd been out in the rain for hours. And the smile. God, the smile was the same. Wide. Too wide. They didn't lunge, didn't run. They just stepped out slowly, camera in one hand, my car key in the other, filming me like I was the subject of some sick documentary. And then they said the first words I'd heard from them, quiet enough that I wasn't sure if it was meant for me or the live stream. You parked wrong. That's when I realized the blue Honda from the original thumbnail, the one my neighbor always parked wrong. It wasn't there anymore in the live stream's current feed. Instead, my car was in its place. And my neighbor's? It was now parked directly outside my house, trunk slightly open. The intruder's camera feed switched again. Now it showed the inside of that trunk. A roll of duct tape, zip ties, a black duffel bag, and my phone battery hit 1%. The figure stepped closer, lifting the camera until the lens was inches from my face. I could see my own reflection in it, wide-eyed, shaking, cornered. Then the comments came back all at once. At 1, B89, hurry at CXT2, battery at ZZK4. Now, the last thing I saw before my phone died was the intruder's other hand reaching toward me, holding something thin and sharp. I don't remember how long I kept the dresser against the door after that. Hours, maybe. I didn't sleep. Didn't even blink for too long at a time. And when the sun finally came up, the closet was empty. No intruder. No camera. No sign they had ever been there at all, except for the single Polaroid on the floor. This one was dated for August 13th, 2025, 3:17 a.m. tomorrow. I didn't leave my house all day, didn't go near the front door, didn't open the blinds. The only sound was the occasional car passing outside and the steady hum of the fridge. But the silence in between, it wasn't empty. It felt like someone was matching my breathing from somewhere I couldn't see. The Polaroid from last night, the one marked for August 13th, 2025, 3:17 a.m., was still sitting on my desk. I'd looked at it 100 times, trying to figure out the angle. In it, I was slumped forward in my desk chair, head turned toward the camera, mouth slightly open like I'd been caught mid-sentence. Behind me, in the photo, there was something that made my stomach knot every time I saw it. My own front door, wide open. By 2 a.m., I convinced myself I'd just stay awake until the time passed. No surprises, no chance for them to catch me off guard. At 2:46 a.m., my phone lit up without a sound. No notification banner, no vibration, just the screen turning on by itself. The deep web TikTok feed was already playing. It wasn't the view of my street this time. It was my living room. I watched myself walk into frame, same hoodie, same messy hair, and head toward the front door. My movements in the stream were wrong, too slow, like I was underwater. My head turned just enough to reveal my face to the camera. My eyes were open, but unfocused. And then, future me reached for the lock. I grabbed the nearest thing I could use as a weapon, a heavy lamp, and ran downstairs. The front door was still locked. Nobody outside. But the stream kept going. It showed me unlocking the door, opening it, and stepping out into the street. The rain was gone, but the pavement still gleamed under the streetlights. The camera angle shifted, and I realized it wasn't just filming me anymore. It was following. I watched as future me walked to the curb where a black sedan was parked. Not my neighbor's Honda. Not a car I recognized. The trunk was already open. The feed zoomed in on something inside. A top, a shovel, and a pair of shoes I recognized instantly. Mine, covered in dried mud. Then the camera panned back to the car door, slowly opening. Someone stepped out. They weren't wearing a hood this time. No mask. Just a plain, pale face, with eyes that looked like they'd been awake for days. There was no expression, no tension in their jaw. Nothing. Just a calm, blank stare. They walked up to future me and put a hand on my shoulder. I didn't resist, didn't flinch. Just let them guide me to the open trunk. And then the comments started again. At F1 TT, perfect at W 88p, almost time at KX9D 317. I checked the clock on my phone. 2:59 a.m. That gave me less than 20 minutes before whatever I was watching became reality. I ran back upstairs, barricaded the bedroom door again, and grabbed my phone charger. If they wanted me to run out of battery before it happened, I wasn't giving them the satisfaction. The feed was still going, still showing future me standing by that black sedan, the stranger's hand resting on my shoulder like we were old friends. At 3:12, the live stream glitched for the first time. The image flickered, scrambled into static for less than a second, and when it came back, the camera was inside the trunk. It was dark, except for the faint orange glow from a streetlight somewhere above. The view was angled upward, showing future me being shoved inside. My legs kicked once before the lid came down, but the feed didn't end there. The camera stayed in the trunk. The next sound was a car door slamming shut, followed by the engine starting. The world outside shifted, streetlights passing in intervals, the dull thud of tires over potholes, and then dirt. The sound of the shovel hitting the ground was so loud I had to lower the volume. Whoever was filming climbed out, leaving the camera in the trunk with me. I could see the top of the hole being dug. The comments flooded in, faster than I could read. At MM12, deep enough at R2T4, face down at Q5C1, make it quiet. I glanced at my clock. 3:16 a.m. 1 minute. The feed went black, and in that silence, from somewhere downstairs, I heard my front door unlock. The sound of my front door unlocking was so soft, I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Almost. It wasn't the clean metallic click of me turning my own key. This was slower, deliberate. The kind of movement where you're not trying to sneak. You're letting the sound exist just enough for the person inside to know they're no longer alone. My breathing went shallow. I was still upstairs, dresser against my bedroom door, knife clutched so tight my hand ached. The rain had stopped completely, leaving the house dead quiet, except for the faint creak of the hinges downstairs. Someone was inside. I didn't move, didn't even shift my weight on the floorboards, but the intruder didn't hesitate. I heard each step, steady, unhurried, as they moved from the entryway toward the staircase. The rhythm of their shoes on the wood was wrong. Too heavy, then too light, like they were pausing mid-step to listen. When they reached the bottom of the stairs, they stopped. For nearly 30 seconds, the only sound in the house was the dull hum of my phone charger on the nightstand. Then my phone lit up again. The deep web TikTok stream was back. No notification this time. It just opened on its own. The feed showed the view from inside my bedroom, my exact position, crouched on the floor behind the dresser, from a high angle. I scanned the room in real life, trying to spot the camera, but the angle didn't match anything I could see. It felt like it was coming from somewhere closer than the walls. On the screen, I watched my bedroom door handle turn. The first sound was the scrape of wood against wood as the dresser shifted half an inch from the force outside. I shoved my weight against it, but the pressure on the other side didn't stop. The livestream comments started pouring in. At R8SZ, push harder, XQ77, get the knife. Or 10 minutes, 3:17. I glanced at my clock. 3:17 a.m. Exactly. The dresser slid again, this time far enough for a pale hand to slip through the gap. The fingers tapped the wood 3 times, slow, like knocking on a coffin. I lunged forward, stabbing down with the knife. The blade met nothing but air. The hand had withdrawn instantly. The house went silent again. Then, from my phone's speakers, I heard a noise that didn't match the video feed. Breathing. Close, heavy, uneven, not coming from the door, from behind me. I spun around, knife raised, and froze. The live stream was now showing the back of my head in real time, from less than a foot away. I didn't even hear them move. A figure in a dark, wet jacket stepped into my peripheral vision, phone in one hand, filming me for the audience, and something long and thin glinting in the other. They didn't rush, didn't shout, just pressed the object, a length of cord, against the back of my neck and said, almost conversationally, "Time to match the video." I swung the knife, but they caught my wrist mid-motion, twisting until the blade clattered onto the carpet. The other hand tightened the cord, and I felt my pulse hammering against it. The phone in their hand was angled perfectly toward my face, broadcasting every flicker of panic to the chat. The comments blurred together. At H8DR, tighter at 5. LLR, face down at T99. Q, bury. My vision narrowed, not from the cord, from the realization that I'd seen this exact framing before. The Polaroid, the trunk, the dirt. They were just making it happen. I kicked backward with everything I had, catching their shin. The grip loosened enough for me to drop forward and scramble for the knife. I didn't look back, didn't need to, because in the live stream feed, the camera angle had switched to the bottom of my stairs. Another figure was standing there. This one wasn't holding a phone. They were holding a shovel. I don't remember the next 30 seconds clearly. There was screaming, mine, and a crash as the dresser finally toppled over. The knife was gone from my hand. My phone skidded across the floor, coming to rest against the wall. Screen cracked, but still streaming. The camera showed me being dragged backward by my ankles, heels scraping the carpet. My nails caught the fibers, but ripped free with every pull. The hallway stretched forever in that moment. They didn't take me out the front door. They took me out the window. Glass shattered against my back as they shoved me through, the wet air hitting like ice. My head struck the edge of the sill, white spots exploding in my vision. The next thing I knew, my knees hit pavement. The black sedan was waiting, trunk open. The stream didn't cut. The phone, mine or theirs, I couldn't tell, was placed gently inside the trunk, angled up so the audience could watch as they folded me in. The smell of damp earth and gasoline was thick enough to taste. The lid closed. Through the darkness, I heard the sound of the shovel again, louder this time, closer. The sedan's engine was off. We were already where they wanted to be. A sliver of light cut through as the trunk opened one final time. Two faces leaned over me. The first was the man from the closet. The second was me. Same hoodie, same messy hair, same blank, slow movements from the earlier footage. I don't know if what happened next was real or just what they wanted me to think I saw. All I know is that when the dirt started hitting my face, the last thing I heard wasn't the sound of the shovel. It was the TikTok notification pinging again, and the caption on the stream simply read, "Next, your street, August 15th, 2025. I played GTA 5 on the dark web. I just found my house, and at that moment, someone knocked on my door. You know how you see those random TikToks with creepy dark web game challenges, and half the comments are like, "Bro, it's fake," and the other half are like, "Nah man, I tried it, don't do it." Yeah, I used to be the guy spamming the "it's fake" comments until last Thursday. I was sitting in my room, lights off, just that warm LED strip glow around my monitor. I had a McDonald's cup on my desk from earlier, half melted ice clinking whenever I moved. My second monitor was streaming a random Twitch GTA 5 RP server. You know, people pretending to be cops and gangsters, the usual. But I was bored, like stupid bored. So I opened Discord, scrolled through my DMs, and found this random guy I'd met in a Steam community chat months ago. His profile picture was some anime girl holding a gun, and his username was just Ghost. The dude was always talking about private mods you couldn't find on Nexus or GTA5mods.com. I typed, "Yo, you still got that GTA dark web mod you mentioned?" He replied instantly. No typing delay, just a link. It wasn't a normal link, not even one of those shady Mediafire ones. It was a .onion address. I've been on the dark web before, mostly just out of curiosity, never for anything illegal, but something about getting a dark web link for a game mod felt off. Still, I copied it into Tor, and a plain black page popped up with white text. San Andreas, real life project. One session, no replays. The city is bigger than you think. There was just a download button under it. No comments, no description. The file was small, like 300 megabytes. I scanned it with my antivirus. Nothing flagged. When I installed it, it didn't even show up in my GTA folder. Instead, a new shortcut appeared on my desktop called lossantos.x with a tiny red icon that looked like a blinking dot. When I launched it, my monitor went black for a good 10 seconds. No loading bar, no Rockstar logo. Then the game opened directly into first-person mode. No menus, no radio music, no HUD. It was nighttime in the game. Rainy. The streets looked different. No neon glow, no NPC chatter, no cars, just puddles reflecting streetlights that flickered like they were about to die. I tried walking. The sound of my footsteps was too real. Like, not in-game sound effects real. I mean like somebody recorded themselves walking down wet pavement with a phone mic and put it in the game. I pressed ESC to check the map, and my stomach dropped. The map wasn't Los Santos. It was my actual city, not kinda looks like it. I mean, my exact city. The roads, the Starbucks down the street, the Shell gas station by the highway, even the McDonald's I'd just been to. I thought maybe it was just reading my IP location and loading a modded map. Creepy, sure, but possible. So I zoomed in closer, and there it was. My street, my building, my apartment. The game character was standing just 1 block away. I froze for a second, hands off the keyboard. Then, like the dumb idiot I am, I pressed W and started walking toward my building. The detail was insane. Graffiti in the exact same spots as real life. The trash cans tipped over like the ones I passed every morning. I even saw my neighbor's beat-up Toyota parked on the curb. When I reached my building, I noticed the front door was slightly open in the game. My stomach was doing flips, but curiosity overpowered fear. I pushed my character inside. The hallway was dim, that weird yellow light you get from old bulbs. Every apartment door had its number, all matching real life. My door was at the end. I didn't even touch the keyboard. My character just started walking toward it on their own. The camera zoomed into my door, and in the game, it slowly opened. That's when I heard it. Not in the game, in real life. 3 knocks, slow, heavy, coming from my actual door. Those knocks didn't sound like a friendly, "Hey, can I borrow sugar?" kind of knock. They were calculated, the kind of knock where whoever's on the other side already knows you're standing there, frozen, listening. I didn't move, didn't breathe. My PC fans were whirring like they were about to take off, and I could hear my pulse in my ears. The game was still open. My in-game door was wide open now, showing a dim, almost too dark version of my apartment. The layout was right. Couch in the corner, cheap IKEA table, that dent in the wall from when I dropped my monitor last year. But there was no light inside, not even the glow from my real-life desk lamp. In the game, my TV was on, a snowy static screen, flickering like an old VHS tape. And then, 3 more knocks. Same rhythm, same pause between each one. I muted my headset and strained to listen. Nothing. No footsteps. No talking. I don't even know why I did it, but I grabbed my phone and opened Instagram. Maybe because I wanted something normal to look at, something bright and loud to yank me out of whatever nightmare my brain was trying to make real. I scrolled for maybe 2 seconds before I froze again. Someone had just sent me a DM. No profile picture. Username was just a string of numbers. The message was 1 word. Open. I swear to you, I didn't post anything about playing this game. I didn't tweet, didn't tell anyone. But whoever it was, they knew I was at my door. I glanced back at the monitor. In the game, my character was no longer in first person. The camera had pulled back slightly, like someone was watching me through a corner-mounted security cam. The angle was from inside my apartment, pointed at the door. And then, the door handle in the game started to turn. That's when I heard it in real life. My own door handle, clicking lightly. Someone was testing it. I grabbed the nearest thing that could be a weapon, which happened to be a heavy glass McDonald's Grimace cup from the 90s I got off eBay. My hands were shaking so bad it almost slipped from my grip. The game door opened fully. In the glow of the static TV, there was a figure standing in my apartment in the game. They were tall, wearing what looked like a black hoodie and dark jeans, face completely obscured by one of those cheap plastic masks you see in Spirit Halloween. Except this one wasn't a skull or a clown. It was just a blank face. No eyes, no mouth. I took a step back from my actual desk. My chair rolled slightly, squeaking against the floor. Then my phone lit up again. Another DM. This time, it was a photo. My apartment door, taken from right outside. The caption said, "You're in the wrong lobby." Before I could even process what that meant, the knocks turned into pounding. The door shook with each hit. I Alt-F4'd the game. My desktop popped up for a second before going black. My monitor turned off completely. And then, my PC tower shut down. Not like it crashed, like someone held the power button. The pounding stopped. Silence. I stood there for what felt like an hour, holding that glass cup like it would actually save me from whatever was about to come through the door. My breathing was so loud, I could hear it bouncing off the walls. Then, my phone buzzed again. Another photo. It wasn't my door this time. It was me, standing in my apartment, holding the cup, taken from behind. I didn't hear anyone come in. I didn't feel anyone behind me. And yet the timestamp said it was taken 5 seconds ago. That photo on my phone, me, standing there, holding the cup, didn't make sense in a way that actually hurt. It was like my brain couldn't decide if I should panic, scream, or just shut down entirely. I looked around my apartment, scanning every inch. Nothing. No shadows out of place. No closet door cracked open. My window was locked. But the photo, the angle was impossible unless someone was inside, right behind me. I wanted to bolt, run outside, down the stairs, out into the street. But the thought of opening that door and actually seeing whoever was there. No. I dialed 911. It rang once, then cut to static. Not the kind of static you hear on the radio. It was digital. Sharp, glitchy, like someone was feeding corrupted audio straight into my ear. And under the static, there was breathing, slow, wet, heavy. I hung up and tossed my phone onto the couch like it was burning me. That's when my PC screen lit back up on its own. Not the game this time. It was a live stream window. No title, no chat box, no controls. Just a grainy, low-light view of my own apartment. The exact view from the photo. I stepped to the side in real life and watched my own body move on the screen with maybe a 1-second delay. It was being streamed. Somewhere. To someone. And then I saw movement on the feed. Not me. In the far corner of the frame, just past my couch. Something shifted. A shape. Tall. Still. I turned my head toward the couch in real life. Nothing there. On the stream, the figure took one step forward. The camera didn't shake, didn't adjust. It was like the feed had a version of my apartment I couldn't see. My phone buzzed again on the couch. Against every ounce of common sense, I picked it up. Another DM from that string of numbers account. It's better when you don't look. And before I could reply, another message came in. This time with a link. It wasn't an onion link, just a random short URL. Curiosity and fear fought in my head, but my hands moved before I could stop them. I typed it into my browser. It opened a page that looked like a forum thread. No ads, no sidebars, just post after post with usernames I'd never seen. Every post had a title like Round number 14, Player in Apartment. Round number 8, Basement Collapse. Round number 21, Open Field Run. Winner. The one at the top read, "Round number 19. You're up." I clicked it. It was my live stream. Except now there was a chat on the side, and people were typing. Fast, user 394. This one's already shaking, LOL. Dead hand. Bet 50, he bolts in under 3 minutes. Pinebox. Nah, he's a staller. Guest. 01. Check the kitchen. My breath caught in my throat. They were watching me, betting on me. And then, like they were following a script, something banged in my kitchen. Loud, sharp, like a cabinet door slamming shut. I didn't move. My brain was screaming at me to lock myself in the bathroom, grab a knife, do something. But I was stuck, frozen. The chat blew up. Dead hand. There it is. Lamau. Pinebox. He heard it. Look at him. User 394. Go. Check. The kitchen. In the feed, I watched my own body slowly turn toward the kitchen. Except I wasn't turning in real life. The stream showed me moving on my own, head jerking slightly, like a marionette being yanked around. And then, in the feed, my legs started walking toward the kitchen. I wasn't doing it. I was still standing dead still in the middle of my apartment, but the me on screen was moving. The fake me disappeared around the corner into the kitchen. The chat went silent for a second, and then, guest 01. Oh yeah, this round's over. I didn't know what they meant until I heard it. A click from behind me, like a door latch. I spun around so fast, I nearly tripped over my own feet. My front door, still closed, had the faintest sliver of light around its edges, like it wasn't shut all the way anymore. I backed up toward my desk, keeping my eyes on it. My monitor still showed the kitchen in the feed, the fake me standing completely still now. Then the front door creaked open an inch. In real life. The chat exploded. Pinebox. Here we go! Dead hand. Open, open, open. User 394. Don't blink. And then the door, on both the stream and in my apartment, slowly swung wide open. There was nothing in the doorway, just dark, empty hall, until something stepped in. Not a person, not even human. Tall, wrong proportions, the head too far forward, the arms hanging too long, its face blurred, like the pixels didn't load. But the teeth were the only thing sharp, perfectly rendered, too white, too many. In the feed, it lunged forward. In real life, my lights went out. The room felt wrong, like every object was leaning in, watching me. The photo still burned in my mind, me holding the cup. But what got under my skin wasn't the fact it was me. It was the blur. Not motion blur, not camera shake. The blur was on my skin, like my face had been scraped away and smeared with something until it looked almost erased. I set the phone down on the table, screen still lit, the photo staring back at me. That's when I noticed it. The timestamp wasn't in the corner like normal. It was in the middle of the photo, faintly pulsing like a heartbeat. 00217, counting down. I picked it back up, my thumb smudging the glass, and the seconds kept dropping. 2 minutes, 16 seconds, 15. My pulse was climbing in my throat, and the air in the apartment felt heavier, like it wanted me still. My first instinct was to grab my bag, keys, and just run. But the rational part of me, the part that's always been too curious for its own good, wanted to see what would happen when it hit 0. So I stood there, watching the seconds bleed away. While I waited, I realized something else. The ticking wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from my apartment. It was faint, a soft, wooden tick, 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 moving slowly, like it was dragging itself along the wall toward me. I followed the sound, my feet pressing lightly into the carpet, careful not to make noise. It stopped at my bathroom door. The light inside was on, but I never turned it on. I stepped forward, slow, until I could see the mirror from the doorway. At first, it was just my reflection, my hair a mess, face pale, the McDonald's cup still in my hand. Then, like someone slowly walking into frame from behind me, a shape rose in the mirror's reflection. It was tall, too tall to be human in my apartment. The shoulders grazed the ceiling, the head tilted, not like a curious person, but like an animal deciding where to bite first. Its face didn't have features, just a skin-like surface that stretched too tight, with faint outlines beneath it, like something was pressing from the inside, trying to get out. I turned around in real life. Nothing there. But in the mirror, it was still standing right behind me. My phone buzzed in my hand so violently, I almost dropped it. One new photo. I opened it. It was me, standing at the bathroom doorway. But in the photo, the thing from the mirror was behind me, and its hands were on my shoulders. The timer in the middle hit 0000. All the lights went out, not just in my apartment. I could see out the window. The whole street was dark. The glow from my monitor came back. The game had launched on its own again. No menu, no intro. Just my apartment's hallway, in-game. Same as before, except this time, the walls were covered in something wet and black, dripping down to the floor. The carpet squished under my character's feet with every step. The sound was the worst part. It wasn't normal game audio. It was real. The squish sounded exactly like when my neighbor's washing machine overflowed last summer and soaked the hallway. And under it, faint breathing. I moved my character toward my in-game door. It was open again. Through it, the thing from the mirror was standing in the exact same position as in the photo, hands on the back of my in-game self's shoulders. The game's perspective shifted. I was no longer controlling the character. I was seeing through its eyes now, looking down at my own feet, both in the game and in real life. The breathing in my headset synced with my actual breathing, and then it didn't. The in-game breathing kept going after I'd held my breath. It was right in my ear. I yanked the headset off and threw it onto the desk, the plastic smacking against the cup, but I could still hear it. In the room, my phone lit up again. Another message. This one wasn't a photo. It was a location share. Google Maps. It showed a little red dot moving slowly through my city, heading toward my building. It was labeled Player 2. The dot stopped right outside. I froze. Every muscle in my body locked. Then, without warning, my doorknob turned all the way and clicked. Not like someone was testing it, like someone was about to walk in. The doorknob stayed, turned, all the way for a moment too long, long enough for me to hear the faint scrape of skin on metal, like whoever was holding it wasn't using their fingertips, but the inside of their hand. Then it released. No footsteps walking away, no whisper, just release. I stood there in the dark, one hand clutching the McDonald's cup so hard the glass creaked in my grip. My own breathing sounded like it was echoing from somewhere else, like it wasn't even mine anymore. The monitor flashed again. The game was still running, but the camera angle had changed. Now it was facing my in-game door from outside, just like a Ring doorbell feed. I recognized the hallway light, the stains on the carpet, everything. But in the game, there was something standing in the hallway, not the too tall thing from before. This was a man, if you could call him that. He was wearing jeans, no shoes, and a dirty white t-shirt with words I couldn't fully make out. Something in red, smudged, like it had been written with a paintbrush, in a shaking hand. His head was wrapped in clear plastic wrap, tight around his skull, fogging slightly as he breathed underneath it. And in his right hand, he was holding something small and metallic, the exact same shape as my apartment keys. The camera slowly panned down to the doorknob in the game, and then I heard it in real life. The keys rattling. I staggered back, my shin hitting the edge of my coffee table so hard I bit down to stop from making noise. My eyes flicked toward my real door. No movement. But the sound was right there. On the game feed, the man's hands moved slowly, deliberately, sliding one of the keys toward the lock. Then my phone lit up on the couch. Another DM. Same numbers account. It was a live video. I clicked it. The stream opened to a view of my own door, not from the hallway, from inside. The same angle you'd get if you were crouched down in my apartment, just a few feet away from it. And in the gap between the door and the frame, I could see someone's eye, bloodshot, unblinking. The keys in the real lock turned once, stopped, turned the other way. The chat popped up on the side of the stream again. Pinebox. He's in. Guest 01. Slow it down. User 394. Make him hear it. The key turned again, so slow I could hear every single pin in the lock shift and click. The hair on my arm stood straight up. I scanned the room. Window? Too high up. Fire escape? None. Kitchen? Dead end. The only exit was the door they were about to open. The lock clicked. I didn't think. I sprinted to my bedroom, slammed the door, and shoved my dresser in front of it so hard the mirror on top rattled. I grabbed my phone again and dialed 911, but the call didn't even try to connect this time. It just played a faint, low hum in my ear, almost like someone was breathing into the mic. I hung up and threw the phone on my bed. The screen lit again almost immediately. A new photo. It was the inside of my bedroom door, taken from right now. And in the photo, there were two hands pressed flat against it, fingers spread wide. The dresser shuddered forward a half inch. I backed into the corner, knees giving out, so I was half crouched, half sitting. My ears were ringing, my chest heaving in these shallow, panicked bursts. The shoving stopped. Silence. Then the game's audio got louder on my PC in the other room. It was my own voice. Not talking, not screaming, just breathing, and then a second voice joined in. Not a whisper, a rasp, like air was moving through a throat that had been damaged. Words formed slowly, dragged out, until I realized what it was saying. Your player 1. A scraping sound came from outside my bedroom door, like something metallic was being dragged down it from top to bottom. I glanced over at my window, heart pounding, brain screaming to move, and froze. There was someone standing on the fire escape outside. A woman. Pale skin, hair slicked to her head like she'd just come out of a pool. Her mouth was open too wide, and her jaw trembled like she was trying to say something but couldn't. Her hands were pressed to the glass. And then she slowly lifted one finger and pointed behind me. Her finger stayed pointed, unmoving, not even the smallest tremor of her muscles. The glass of the window was fogging around where her face pressed, but her eyes didn't blink, not once. They just tracked me, locked on me, with this unbroken, predatory patience. I couldn't turn around. Every nerve in my body screamed that whatever was behind me was already too close. I just stayed frozen, my back to the wall, my eyes fixed on hers. Then, slowly, her head tilted sideways, not curious, not confused. It was the kind of tilt a dog makes when it hears a sound right before it attacks. Her mouth began to move. At first, I thought she was speaking, but no sound came out. Then I realized she wasn't forming words. She was counting, silently, and her lips hit 3. That's when the dresser in front of my bedroom door moved. Not shoved, not knocked, dragged. The wood screeched against the floor, like someone was pulling it away with one hand. I didn't breathe. My muscles locked so tight my vision tunneled. The scrape stopped, and then nothing. The silence was worse than the noise. My phone lit up again on the bed. I didn't want to, but I had to look. It wasn't a photo this time. It was a live stream link. The thumbnail froze my stomach. My bedroom, this exact moment, from the ceiling. I clicked it. The stream was in perfect clarity, too perfect. Every detail of me, the way my hands trembled, the cup still clutched white-knuckle tight, the sweat down my neck, and in the top right corner of the feed, there was a timer, 00:59. It was counting down. The chat was alive. Pinebox. Finally, guest Woe1. She's got eyes on him. User 394. Wait for the door. I glanced at the window. The woman was gone. No sound, no movement, no trace. Just a thin smear where her face had been. The timer hit 00:41. Then I heard it. A sound so faint, I thought I was imagining it. A shoe sliding over carpet. Inside my bedroom. My skin crawled. I was still staring at the phone screen, but in the corner of the stream, I saw it. A shadow. Not on the floor. Across my own chest. Like something tall was standing directly behind me. The chat exploded. Dead hand. Closer. Pinebox. Touch him. I wanted to move. Wanted to run. But my body didn't belong to me anymore. My hands went slack. The cup slipped. Hit the carpet with a muted thud. The shadow on my chest lengthened, stretching past me until it touched the wall ahead. And then I felt it. Cold. Not like air conditioning cold. This was dead skin cold. The kind of cold that bites through clothing straight into your bones. A hand slid onto my shoulder. It didn't grip. It just rested there. The weight wrong. Too heavy for a hand that size. The skin felt damp. The pressure almost testing, as if deciding where to push first. The timer hit 00:19. From behind me, a voice. Quiet, low, but somehow smiling, spoke. You've been here before. My stomach lurched. My head filled with static. Then the stream feed changed. The video rewound. Not hours, not days, but months. Clips flashed by. Me on my couch eating McDonald's. Me walking in from work. Me sleeping in bed. All from the same ceiling angle. All from inside my apartment. The timer hit 00:8. The stream went live again. I was still frozen. The hand left my shoulder. Something moved past me. Silent, but impossibly close. Until the weight in the air shifted toward the door. The door to my bedroom wasn't there anymore. Where it had been, the game was now projected on the wall. Massive, grainy, filling the entire frame. In the game, my character was standing in an alley I didn't recognize. It was night. Trash lined the walls. Rats twitched in the corners. And at the far end of the alley was another version of me. This me was wearing what I had on right now. He was standing perfectly still. And behind him, far, far back, just barely in the light, was the tall, wrong proportion thing. The timer hit 00:1. The other me in the game turned around. It wasn't my face. It wasn't even human. The screen went black. My lights came on. Everything was normal. No broken locks. No open windows. My dresser was back in place. The cup was on the desk. My phone had no messages. My browser history was clean. If it weren't for the single detail sitting in the middle of my desk, I would have almost convinced myself it didn't happen. It was a USB stick, bright red. On the side, in black marker, was written, Player 3. I got access to an FBI Zoom call through the dark web. What they were talking about isn't for humans. I've always been the kind of person who browses places online. I probably shouldn't. I'm not talking about your average shady Reddit thread or those clickbait. You won't believe what happens next. Twitter videos. I'm talking deep web stuff. The kind of sites where your VPN doesn't even feel like enough, and you keep your phone's camera covered just in case. It started one night when I couldn't sleep. I was in my apartment, the glow of my second-hand monitor lighting up my messy desk. I had an open McDonald's bag next to me, cold fries, half a Coke, and a sweet and sour packet that had somehow leaked onto my mousepad. My Spotify playlist was running in the background, but I wasn't really listening. I was scrolling. That's when I saw it. A post buried in a locked dark web forum I only check maybe twice a month. Live. Agency meeting. Do not share. Will self-destruct. The thread had one comment. Just one. You don't want to see this. It was a Zoom link. A normal-looking Zoom link. Which is already weird because why would the FBI use Zoom? I don't know what made me click it. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was curiosity. But I did. The meeting opened immediately. No password, no waiting room. And suddenly, I was looking at 7 small squares in the corner of my screen. Every single one of them was a man or woman in a suit, sitting in these bland government-looking rooms with beige walls and no windows. Their names weren't listed, just numbers. User 01, User 02, like they were placeholders. At first, they weren't talking about anything insane. It was bureaucratic, words like case file and protocol updates. But then one guy leaned forward. He had this pale, almost sickly face, and these deep eye bags, like he hadn't slept in weeks. And he said, "The sightings have increased near the Chicago corridor. The thing is moving faster than projected." Another woman, her camera glitching every few seconds, replied, "Faster? Sir, it shouldn't even be moving at all after phase 6. Are you sure it's the same one?" There was a long pause. Then he nodded. I should have left right there, but I couldn't. It was like listening to a conversation you know you're not supposed to hear, and the longer you listen, the more your stomach knots. They started showing slides, grainy aerial photos, satellite shots over places I recognized. Not just Chicago. There was a Starbucks in Seattle I've been to before, the exact corner where Pike Place Market starts, a street in Berlin, even the Dubai Mall. But all the pictures had one thing in common: a blurred figure, always facing the camera, even if the photo was taken from above. One of them said, "If it keeps following the pattern, we'll have about 9 days before contact is unavoidable. We need civilian lockdown in affected areas." Another voice cut in. "Lockdown won't work. It's already inside multiple metropolitan zones." That's when a man in the center frame turned his head slightly and looked straight into the camera. I'm talking dead on eye contact with me. And here's the thing. Zoom doesn't tell you when someone's watching unless they're in the participant list. I wasn't. My name wasn't there. But he smiled, like he knew exactly who I was. Then he said, "We'll handle our guest first." The feed cut to black. I sat there, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd be sick. And then my phone lit up. Unknown number. "Do not close your laptop." I didn't reply to the text. I didn't even touch my phone. I just stared at it while my laptop screen sat black, reflecting my own pale, frozen face back at me. My room felt smaller, like the air had been sucked out and replaced with something heavier. My mouth tasted like metal. I remember thinking, okay, they can't actually see me, right? Except, there's no way they could have sent that message unless they had my number. And there's no way they could have had my number unless they knew exactly who and where I was. That thought didn't even have time to fully settle in before I heard it. 3 knocks. Slow. Measured. Not on the apartment door, but on the wall. The inside wall. I froze. My apartment is a single unit. No one lives behind that wall. It's the corner of the building. The knocks came again, louder this time, and something about the rhythm. 3, pause, 3, pause, felt, practiced. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera app, and started recording. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold it straight. I whispered, "Who's there?" and instantly regretted it, because they answered. A man's voice, so close, it could have been in my ear. "Don't hang up." That's when I realized. It wasn't the wall. It was my laptop. The black screen wasn't fully black. There was a faint glow, just enough for me to make out the outline of someone. Not one of the people from the Zoom call. Taller, thinner, and they weren't in a room. It looked like they were in some kind of moving vehicle, light from passing street lamps sliding across their face every few seconds. I slammed the laptop shut, and instantly, my phone rang. No caller ID. I answered, because I was too scared not to, and all I heard was breathing. Long, slow breaths, like whoever it was wanted me to hear how calm they were compared to me. Then they said, "There's a McDonald's bag on your desk. The fries are cold. You should throw them away before we get there." My entire body locked up. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I looked at the bag next to me. I hadn't mentioned it anywhere. Not in a post, not in a message. They weren't guessing. They were seeing me. I hung up, turned my phone off, pulled the battery. But that's when something truly impossible happened. I heard the same voice from the phone, not through a speaker, but in my apartment, say, "Running won't help." Every instinct I had told me to get out, so I grabbed my hoodie and bolted. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, heart pounding so loud I couldn't hear my own footsteps. The building's front door was open, not unlocked. Open. A cold gust of air rushed in, carrying the smell of rain and something else, like burned plastic. There was a black SUV idling across the street. No plates, tinted windows. And as I stared at it, the rear passenger window slowly rolled down just enough for me to see eyes, not a face, just eyes, watching me. I started walking, fast but not running, because I didn't want to look like prey. I went 3 blocks before realizing the SUV wasn't moving. Relief started to creep in, until my phone, which I swear I had turned off and left in my hoodie pocket, lit up in my hand. It was a live stream of me from across the street. I turned the phone over. No camera lens, no possible way it could be filming me. But the feed was there, my back, my hood up, walking away, and the view was moving closer. In the live stream chat, messages started appearing, not usernames, just strings of numbers. 0, 0, 0, 1. Keep walking. 0, 0, 0, 6. Don't look back. 0, 0, 0, 11. They're behind you. And when I broke that last rule, when I did look, there was someone standing exactly an arm's length behind me. Not the SUV, not a random passerby. It was the pale man from the Zoom call. No coat, no umbrella, rain streaking down his face, his mouth barely moving as he said something I couldn't hear over the blood rushing in my ears. But I read his lips, clear as day. 9 days. I didn't sleep that night, not because I didn't try, but because every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, the pale man from the Zoom call, standing in the rain with his lips moving. 9 days. I checked my apartment twice over, every window locked, deadbolt on, blinds drawn. Still, my phone kept lighting up on its own. Every time, it showed a different live stream. Sometimes it was my street, sometimes the front of my building. Once it was my bedroom, but shot from the corner of the ceiling, like there was a hidden camera bolted there. At 3:47 a.m., I gave up on sleep and started searching online. Not on the normal web, Tor, the dark web forums, places where missing person threads don't get taken down. I typed 9 days into one of the older boards. Most posts were garbage. Conspiracy theories about the Mayan calendar, fake countdowns to disasters that never happened. But buried in, there was a thread from 2017. No replies, just a link to a dead news site and a single line of text. It's never the same thing twice. I clicked the link. It redirected to an archived page, an article about a Chicago man found dead in his apartment. No signs of forced entry, no theft, just him, sitting upright in his computer chair, eyes open, mouth frozen mid-word. The police report said his webcam had been on when they found him. The date of death was exactly 9 days after he'd made a 911 call about someone in a video meeting knowing his name. Day 1. I kept my laptop off. I taped over the camera on my phone. I tried to keep my head down at work, but when I went to Starbucks during lunch, I swear the barista froze when she saw my face. She handed me my coffee, and there, written in Sharpie across the cup, were 3 words: 8 days left. When I looked up, she was already gone. Someone else was behind the counter. Day 3. I woke up to find my door open, not unlocked. Open, nothing missing, no sign of forced entry. But in the middle of my living room, there was a McDonald's bag, not from last week, fresh, fries still warm, Coke still fizzing. Inside the bag was a folded printout of an image I recognized instantly. A Google Street View shot of the apartment I grew up in as a kid. And standing in the driveway, barely visible, was the pale man. Day 5. By now, I'd stopped pretending I could live normally. My apartment felt wrong. The air smelled faintly of bleach. like someone had cleaned when I wasn't home. I took the train to a hotel across town, paid in cash, used a fake name. That night, the live stream on my phone came back. It wasn't showing my hotel room. It was showing my parents' house, 2 states away. The camera was low to the ground, moving through their backyard. Every so often, the chat would fill with numbers counting down from 4 a.m. day 6. I tried to call my parents. No answer. Tried my sister. No answer. Around 2 a.m., I got a text from an unknown number. You've wasted 6 days. Day 7. I went to the police. I don't know what I expected. Maybe that someone would believe me, that they'd at least file something. Instead, the officer behind the desk just stared at me with this flat, unreadable expression and said, "If someone's given you 9 days, there's nothing we can do." I wanted to scream. Instead, I asked, "You've heard of this before?" He didn't answer, just walked into the back, leaving me sitting there with my hands trembling on the counter. Day 8. The feed on my phone showed a new location, an empty parking lot under the flicker of a single streetlight. I didn't recognize it at first, until I saw the shape of the gas station in the background. It was the one 2 blocks from my apartment. The chat was different this time. The numbers weren't counting down. They were counting up. Every time they hit 60, the camera angle moved closer to the streetlight, and under that light, I could see someone hanging from a rope. Their head twitched toward the camera, and even though the face was blurred, I knew it was me. Day 9. I haven't told anyone this part before, not the whole thing, because by now, I knew the 9 days wasn't a warning. It wasn't a deadline. It was a preparation. I woke up at 4:12 a.m. to the sound of my laptop fan spinning. It was on, even though I hadn't touched it in days. The Zoom window was open. Every single square was filled with people. Not the 7 I'd seen before, but dozens, all staring at me. Some in offices, some in cars, some in places that looked wrong, like old basements with walls too close together. The pale man was in the center square. He leaned forward until his face filled the screen, and in the same calm, almost bored voice I'd heard that first night, he said, "It's your turn to join the meeting." The feed glitched. My apartment lights flickered. And then, someone knocked 3 times from inside my bedroom closet. The knock stopped the second I stood up. Not faded, not trailed off. Just stopped. Like whoever was in there knew exactly when I was listening. My closet door is one of those cheap sliding types that rattles if you so much as breathe near it. Now it was perfectly still. I stared at it for maybe a full minute, trying to hear anything. Breathing, movement, even the sound of fabric shifting. Nothing. Just that heavy silence that presses against your ears until your own pulse is the loudest thing in the room. I thought about calling someone, but the second I reached for my phone, the screen lit up on its own. No touch, no unlock, and a live video filled the display. It was my closet door. The angle was from inside. The camera was already in there. My throat tightened so much I couldn't swallow. I watched as the feed slowly panned, not all at once, but with these sick little pauses, like the person holding it was savoring the moment. The lens caught flashes of metal, rails, hooks, something that looked like a handcuff bolted into the back wall. There was no way any of that was in my closet, except I could see the corner of my own hoodie hanging in the shot. Then, just for a second, the feed caught them. Not the pale man, not someone I recognized. A figure wearing a black surgical mask, goggles fogged up from their own breath, head tilted in that slow, deliberate way people do when they want to unnerve you without moving a muscle. They lifted their hand, one finger raised to where their lips should be. The universal shh. The video froze, and then my closet door slid open on its own. Inside wasn't my closet anymore. The smell hit me first, bleach and rust, thick enough to make my eyes water. The space beyond the frame was wrong, too deep, like someone had ripped the back wall out and built something much bigger behind it. The light inside was that sickly hospital green you only ever see in old fluorescent fixtures. There were shelves lining the walls. On them were laptops, dozens, maybe 100, all open, all running video calls. In each call, a person was sitting in a chair, staring dead ahead. Some of them were crying silently. Some were gagged. A few weren't moving at all. One screen caught my attention because I recognized the room behind the person. It was mine. The figure in the black mask stepped into view in my actual bedroom, behind my chair. I spun around. No one there. When I turned back to the closet, they were already halfway toward me in that impossible space, moving without sound, like each step was perfectly placed. Something about the way they moved was wrong. Too smooth. No weight shift in the shoulders, like they'd practiced walking for the sole purpose of making it unnatural. Behind them, on one of the laptop screens, the pale man appeared, but not as a participant, as a shadow reflected in the glass, moving closer to the person in the chair until his face nearly touched the lens. The masked figure stopped inches from me. I could see condensation on the inside of their goggles now, their breath steady and unfaltering. They tilted their head again and whispered, though their lips never moved. They can all see you now. The shelves lit up one by one as every laptop feed turned toward me. I don't mean the people turned their heads. I mean the cameras did, mechanically, all at once. Every single viewer staring right at me, eyes empty, as though they'd already accepted something I didn't understand yet. Then the pale man's voice filled the room, though I couldn't tell if it was coming from the laptops, the closet, or inside my own head. We don't need to kill you. We just need you to watch. The masked figure reached up and pulled the goggles off. Where their eyes should have been were two perfectly smooth, pale indentations, like someone had erased them. They raised both hands, gloved, wet with something dark, and pressed them over my face. I felt cold flood in through my skin, not like air, but like a camera lens opening and swallowing the light. My vision blurred. The last thing I saw was my own reflection in the nearest laptop screen, except I was sitting, strapped to a chair, in a room I didn't recognize. The pale man stepped into frame, leaned down, and whispered directly into my ear in the reflection, "Day 0. And then everything went black. When my vision came back, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was sitting in a metal chair bolted to the floor, wrists strapped down so tight I could feel the pulse in my hands slowing. The room was windowless, dim, and cold enough that my breath came out in faint clouds. Directly in front of me was a single monitor. On it, the Zoom call. 7 squares. The exact same faces as before, now perfectly still, waiting. In the center square was the pale man. His face didn't move for several seconds. Then he leaned forward, so close that the camera warped the edges of his cheeks, and said, "Now you understand why you were chosen." I tried to speak, but my mouth was taped. My voice came out in muffled bursts that no one acknowledged. The camera view on the monitor shifted, not like someone clicked a button, but like the room had turned itself towards something else. Now I was looking at a new feed, dozens of smaller screens stitched together. Each showed a different person, all strapped to chairs like mine, all in different rooms. Some were screaming, some were already slumped forward. Then I noticed something sickening. In every single feed, someone was standing in the corner. Sometimes it was the masked figure, sometimes the pale man, sometimes neither, just a silhouette that seemed to grow taller the longer you looked at it. The pale man's voice came again, but this time it wasn't from the monitor. It was in the room with me. I turned my head as far as the restraints would let me. He was standing in the far corner, hands folded neatly in front of him, like he was about to give a lecture. What we were discussing that night wasn't meant for you, but since you listened, you are now part of it. The sightings, the movement patterns. You were never supposed to know the thing was human. That's the part most can't accept. Humans can be trained, conditioned, manufactured. He stepped closer. His shoes made no sound on the concrete. We've been collecting watchers, people who can't help themselves, people who look when they shouldn't. You're not here to die. You're here to see. The monitor flickered. A new feed replaced the grid of captives. It was a live view of an alley behind a strip mall, the kind you only walk down if you have no other choice. A young woman was being dragged into the shadows by two figures in black. One of them looked up at the camera, and I realized with a gut drop it was the barista from Starbucks. The pale man touched the monitor with the flat of his hand, almost gently. This is what you'll be shown. For as long as you can stay alive, you'll watch, you'll remember, you'll understand that we're everywhere. The screen changed again, and now it was my street, my apartment building. The camera was inside a car slowly driving past. As it passed my floor, the feed zoomed in until my bedroom window filled the screen, and then I saw myself, sitting at my desk, head tilted toward my own laptop, watching a Zoom call. The pale man came behind me, his breath perfectly even against my ear. "That's not a recording. That's now. You're already back home." I stared at the screen, and my stomach twisted into something cold and hollow. The me in the feed looked up, directly into the camera. No surprise, no fear, just a slow, knowing smile. The pale man's hand came down on my shoulder. His grip wasn't tight, but it was final. "This is the part you won't believe. You've been here before." The monitor cut to black. The straps around my wrists loosened on their own. The lights in the room died, and in the pitch black, dozens of tiny red dots appeared, the standby lights of cameras, all pointed at me. From the darkness, that same calm voice spoke one last time. 9 days starts again. And then I heard the first knock, 3 times, from inside my own head. There's a secret subreddit where people post live updates of FBI raids. One of them was my house. So, I've always been the kind of guy who scrolls Reddit at night until I realize the sun's coming up. My feed is a mix of dumb memes, tech news, and random deep web mystery threads. Most of the time, it's harmless rabbit holes. But 3 months ago, I found something that didn't feel harmless at all. It started when I saw a comment on r/conspiracy about watching the game in real time. At first, I thought it was sports related, but the guy's account was brand new, no post history, and the phrase watching the game was hyperlinked to a subreddit I'd never heard of, r/blue light updates. The sub had only 317 members, no profile picture, no description, just a pinned post that said, all timestamps are EST, keep uploads steady, use code words only, stay safe. Every post was titled something cryptic like package on the lawn, shirts in the trees, or blue sky incoming. At first glance, it looked like nonsense, but when you clicked the images, yeah, they weren't memes or random photos. They were grainy cell phone shots of real-life FBI raids. Some were clearly taken from across the street. Men in black tactical gear, unmarked vans, houses with doors busted open. And here's the creepy part. The timestamps on the posts weren't after the fact. They were while it was happening. Like, one video was literally an FBI agent walking up someone's driveway, and the caption was just 10:04 blue sky. The clock on the footage matched the post time down to the second. I should have just closed the tab right there, but I didn't. Instead, I scrolled through hundreds of these updates, and the more I looked, the more I noticed details. Starbucks cups on car hoods, GPS coordinates scribbled on sticky notes, taped to dashboards, McDonald's wrappers on the curb. Things that made it obvious these weren't staged. They were just life, caught in the middle of something serious. One post in particular stuck with me. It was titled Cold Front. The image was a blurry zoom of a street sign near my neighborhood. I recognized it immediately. It was the one right by the Shell gas station I go to every morning before work. That was the first time I got the gut feeling that this wasn't some community crime watch gimmick. Someone in that subreddit was close to me. I backed out of the post, closed the tab, and tried to sleep. But the algorithm had other plans, because the next day, Reddit recommended me another private community. Same vibe, even smaller member count, and one post in there stopped me dead in my tracks. The caption just said, warm hands at 3:18, wait for the knock. The thumbnail was my apartment building. I zoomed in and saw my own damn balcony door, curtain slightly open, exactly how I'd left it before heading to work. It wasn't until that night, sitting in my living room with the TV on for background noise, that I realized what the caption probably meant. Wait for the knock. And right on cue, 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. The sound of those 3 knocks didn't echo in the usual way. They weren't impatient, and they weren't casual. They were the kind of knocks you only hear in movies right before someone gets dragged away screaming. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My TV was playing some Food Network show about cupcakes, and it felt like the noise was too loud, like it was exposing me. I grabbed the remote, muted it, and just listened. Silence. Then, a click. The click wasn't from the door. It was from my phone. I looked down and saw my front camera was on. I hadn't touched it. There was no FaceTime call, no app open, just my own pale face staring back at me. I threw the phone on the couch, went to the door, and looked through the peephole. Nobody. I took a step back, Then the knocking started again. Not at my front door this time, at my balcony glass. I live on the 4th floor. I remember my stomach just dropping. I didn't go to the balcony. I didn't even look. I knew I wasn't going to like what I'd see. I went straight to the bedroom, turned off all the lights, and crouched by the window. My building faces another apartment block, so I had a clear view across. In one of the units opposite mine, a man was standing by his own balcony, pointing his phone directly at me. He wasn't even hiding it. Screen lit up, camera flash off, just recording me. He had an FBI windbreaker on, except the letters weren't yellow. They were painted over in matte black. I blinked once, and he was gone. No sound of a door shutting, no footsteps, just gone. I checked Reddit. The secret subreddit had a new post. Caption, Window Shopper, 11:07 Eastern Standard Time. Wrap it. The image was a grainy zoom of me crouched by the bedroom window, taken from outside my building. I slammed my laptop shut so hard, it knocked over my coffee mug. My mind was racing. Was this some elaborate prank? Was someone swatting me? No, this was different. The timestamps, the level of detail, the fact that they were right here. This was planned. I don't remember deciding to do it, but suddenly I was walking to my kitchen, pulling a knife from the drawer. Not because I thought I could fight off an FBI raid, because I had this sick, pressing thought that if they were going to take me, they weren't going to take me alive. Then my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I answered. Nothing. Not dead air. Not silence. I could hear breathing. Not heavy breathing. Calm, slow, like someone sitting in the dark, smiling. Then a voice. Low. Measured. Male. Don't make us knock again. Click. I wish I could say I ran, that I got in my car, sped to a motel, called the cops. But I just stood there in my kitchen like my shoes were glued to the floor. Another notification from Reddit. Not a post this time. A private message from a user with no name. Just a black square as the avatar. The message was short. Part 2 is always better when you're awake. Attached was a link to a live stream. I tapped it without thinking. The stream loaded instantly. No buffering, no ads. It was my apartment building. The camera was somewhere high up, maybe on the roof of the opposite block. The shot didn't move, didn't zoom. In the bottom right corner, a timer was counting down from 7 a.m. 7 minutes until what? I scanned the frame. At first, nothing was happening. Then I saw movement on the street. 4 unmarked vans pulling up. Men stepping out in black jackets with matte black FBI lettering, just like the one I saw earlier. They didn't rush. They drifted into position like they had all night. The timer on the stream hit 5:12. Some of them started talking into radios. One pointed up at my balcony. The rest turned to look. And I swear to God, they all smiled. That was when I noticed the live chat on the side of the stream. People were commenting like it was a football game. Wrap him now. Bet he runs before 2 a.m. Window shoppers got the shot. The timer hit 3 a.m. My phone vibrated again. Another message. This time, no words, just a single emoji. Hammer. I couldn't take my eyes off the timer. 2 a.m. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. Not mine. 2 or 3 apartments over. Heavy footsteps. Voices. Then the sound of something or someone being dragged, screaming. And not just regular screaming. Screaming that cut off in the middle like a switch had been flipped. The timer hit 00:47. One of the men on the stream raised his hand. The rest moved toward my building entrance in perfect sync. The chat exploded. Here we go. Part 2 starts now. Warm hands. The timer hit 0000. From my balcony, I heard the latch unlock. The sound of the balcony latch clicking open was so soft, it didn't match the weight of what it meant. It was quieter than the hum of my fridge, quieter than my own pulse in my ears, but I felt it in my chest, like a drop in air pressure before a storm. I didn't go to the balcony. I went the other way, toward my front door, because if they were coming in from one side, maybe I could make it out the other. My hand was already on the deadbolt when I heard the other latch. My peephole darkened. Someone was covering it from the outside. I froze. The footsteps on my balcony were deliberate. 2 people, maybe 3, moving slow, like they weren't in a rush to get anywhere, because they already were where they needed to be. The deadbolt on my front door turned halfway. I yanked it back into place out of instinct, which was stupid, because it meant whoever was out there now knew exactly where I was. A low chuckle leaked through the door. Not a laugh, more like the kind of sound you make when a slot machine hits 3 in a row. Then, without warning, the fire alarm in the hallway went off. Not the screeching, high-pitched one you hear in movies. This one was deep, mechanical, and wrong. It sounded broken, almost muffled, like it wasn't coming from the ceiling, but from inside the walls. My phone lit up with another message from the same black square avatar. No text this time, just a live stream thumbnail. I tapped it. The angle was from inside my apartment. The camera was on the floor by my kitchen counter, facing the front door. I could see my own back in frame, hunched over like prey. Behind me, the door handle twisted again. The stream's live chat was blowing up. Don't let him run. Wait for cold hands. Second floor ready. Then a new comment in all caps. Package leaving, track. I didn't know what package meant until I heard the scream. It wasn't inside my apartment. It was outside, in the hall. High-pitched, panicked. I recognized the voice. My upstairs neighbor, Melissa. She was the kind of person who left cookies at your door for no reason. I'd seen her in the elevator just yesterday, carrying a Starbucks tray with 2 cups, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. Now, she was screaming for help. I cracked the door open half an inch. Big mistake. Melissa wasn't standing. She was being held. One of the black-jacketed men had her by the collar, one hand over her mouth, the other holding something to her side. I don't know if it was a knife or a gun. She was trying to kick free, but another man was already zip-tying her ankles. The first man turned his head just enough for me to see his face. He wasn't wearing a mask. He wanted me to see him. And the look he gave me wasn't angry. It wasn't even threatening. It was casual, like I was just another bystander at a bus stop. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and backed up toward the kitchen. The live stream still had me in frame. My own face now, wide-eyed, breathing hard. New comment. Mouse in a trap. Another. Red light. That was when I noticed it. The red dot on my shirt. I didn't think. I just dropped to the floor. The second I did, something slammed into my balcony glass from outside. The sound was sharp and heavy, like a bird hitting a window, except it wasn't a bird. A hairline crack appeared in the glass. I crawled to the bedroom. My plan, if you could call it that, was to grab my laptop, and climb out the fire escape on the other side of the building. But when I got to the bedroom window, I saw them. 2 more men standing in the alley below. They weren't looking at me. They were looking at their phones, like they were reading the same stream I was. One of them raised his hand to his ear, then looked directly up at me. Another crack in the balcony glass. Louder this time. My phone buzzed again. No live stream link this time. Just a message. 0145. I knew what that meant. A countdown. And if Melissa's scream stopping had been any clue, it didn't mean I had 1 minute and 45 seconds to leave. It meant I had 1 minute and 45 seconds to exist. The timer ticked down in my head as I crawled into my closet. I pushed myself into the corner, pulled a blanket over me like I was 6 years old hiding from monsters, and tried to slow my breathing. From somewhere in my apartment, a door creaked open. Not my front door, not my balcony, the bathroom. They were already inside. I didn't hear them break in. There was no bang, no splintering wood, no smash lock. 1 second, my bathroom door was closed. The next, it was just open. The sound of boots on tile is a very specific thing. Heavy, but not stomping. It's the kind of sound where each step feels deliberate, like the person isn't moving to get somewhere. They're moving to control the space they're in. They weren't talking. The only sound was a faint tap of something metallic against the wall as they moved. The bathroom is 6 steps from my bedroom closet. I counted each one. Step, step, step. I couldn't stop staring at the gap under the closet door, waiting to see shadows. My phone was still in my pocket, still buzzing with new messages I didn't dare look at. I wanted to throw it across the room, but the sound would have given me away. Then, breathing. Not mine. Not in my head. Someone else's. It was right outside the closet. A slow exhale, then the sound of fingers dragging down the closet door. The nails weren't long. They made more of a dull, flat scrape, like knuckles brushing the wood. And then the sound of fabric moving, like someone leaning their head against the door. I bit down so hard on the inside of my cheek, I tasted blood. No one moved. Not me. Not them. It was just stillness. And then my phone lit up in my pocket. The vibration against my thigh might as well have been a gunshot. I felt the air change before anything happened. A small shift, like the heat from someone's body, was now inside the closet with me. The door didn't swing open. It slid, slow enough that the hinge didn't even creak. And there he was, close enough that I could see the stubble on his jaw, the little scar under his right eye, the way his pupils didn't seem to match in size. He wasn't wearing a mask. None of them were. In his left hand was a phone, screen facing me. It was the live stream. And there I was, crouched in the corner, blanket over my head like an idiot. He tilted the phone so the camera caught my face perfectly. The chat went insane. He's right there. Mouse caught. Time for cold hands. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small object. Not a weapon, not exactly. It looked like one of those thermal cameras you see in ghost hunting shows. He held it up, and I saw my own body outlined in bright red on the screen. "Warm hands," he said quietly, almost like a joke only he understood. Then he stepped back, leaving the closet door wide open. From the bathroom, 2 more men emerged. One was holding Melissa. Her hands were bound behind her back with what looked like a single piece of electrical wire. Her mouth was covered with silver duct tape, but her eyes, they weren't pleading. They weren't wide with panic. They were glossy. The other man carried something I wish I could forget. A small black box with wires hanging from it, and a single blinking red light. He set it on my bed like it belonged there. One of them spoke into a radio. Package A secure. B in view. The one with the scar knelt in front of me again. You have 30 seconds to stand up and walk, or you won't walk again. I don't know why I listened. I should have run. I should have fought. Instead, I stood up. They moved me into the living room. Melissa was there too, positioned in the center like a piece of furniture. The men stayed in formation, 3 behind us, 1 in front, always with that slow, controlled pace. The live stream was still going. The chat wasn't just text anymore. They were sending money, small amounts, big amounts. Each donation popped up with a comment. Do her first. Camera left. Window shopper, get closer. I realized what was happening before I wanted to admit it. This wasn't an FBI raid. It wasn't even a hit. This was entertainment. A live show for whoever knew the right subreddit to find it. The one with the scar checked his watch. 2 minutes. That was when Melissa made a sound, muffled but sharp. She was shaking her head violently, the duct tape crinkling. The man nearest to her just sighed, pulled a small pair of scissors from his pocket, and in one smooth motion, cut the tape. Her jaw opened, but before a word came out, he put his hand around her throat, not squeezing, just holding it there, like he owned it. You first, then him, he said to the man with the scar. The scarred man didn't argue. The clock on the live stream started counting down again. 1:59, 1:58. Melissa's breathing was ragged now, panic starting to set in. She looked at me, not pleading, not asking for help, but almost like she was memorizing my face. The scarred man leaned in close to me, so close I could smell the faint scent of McDonald's coffee on his breath, and said, when it hits 0, don't blink. 00:20. The countdown on the live stream was crawling, but in my head, it was already over. Melissa was kneeling on my living room floor, her hands still bound, her shoulders trembling, like every breath was a fight. The man with his hand on her throat hadn't moved. He didn't squeeze. He didn't need to. His thumb rested just under her jaw, not applying pressure, but positioned so that one push would end everything. The scarred man stayed in front of me, close enough that I could see his pulse in his neck. Slow, steady. He wasn't in a rush. 00:15. The chat on the live stream was a blur. Camera 2 on her face. Make it slow. 0 means 0. Someone donated $500. A message popped up in bold. Do it in sync. The man with the scar pulled something from his pocket. Not a gun, not a knife, just a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it and turned it toward me. It was a printout of my own Reddit profile, the one I'd been using to lurk on r/blue light updates, my comments, my saved posts, the time I'd subscribed. You watched, he said. Not a question, just a statement of fact. 00:12. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. He crouched so his eyes were level with mine. You didn't stop watching. You could have closed it, could have looked away, but you didn't. I felt my throat tighten. I didn't know. You knew enough, he cut in, his voice still calm. And now, they know you. 009. From the corner of my eye, I saw movement at the balcony. A figure stepped in from the outside. The same man I'd seen across the street on the other building weeks ago. The one in the black letter FBI jacket. He had a phone in his hand too. Filming. The chat went wild. Window shopper back. We got him. Synchronize. 0006. The scarred man leaned closer. When it hits 0, you'll understand why no one reports this. Melissa's breathing was shallow, almost silent now. Her eyes were fixed on something over my shoulder. I didn't turn. 00:3. The man behind her adjusted his grip, just slightly, and I heard the sound of the duct tape on her wrists creaking as she struggled. The scarred man counted under his breath. 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. Everything happened in perfect unison. The man at the balcony moved forward. The one holding Melissa pressed his thumb hard under her jaw. Not crushing, but just enough to make her choke and fold forward. The scarred man grabbed the sides of my head, not violently, almost gently, and forced me to look straight into his eyes. In my peripheral vision, I saw Melissa's body slump sideways. She was still breathing, but barely. And then, nothing. No screaming, no gunshots, no smashing, just nothing. The scarred man let go of me, stood, and nodded once to the others. They didn't leave in a hurry. They didn't even look back. One by one, they filed out through the front door, silent, their boots barely making a sound on the hardwood. The last one out was the man from the balcony. He held up his phone, pointed it at me, and tapped the screen. A notification buzzed on my own phone instantly. When I looked, it was a new post on r/blue light updates. Title, Warm Hands, 23:41 EST. Safe for now. Image, a perfect still shot of me, sitting on the floor of my living room, staring into nothing. No caption, no comments. I don't know how long I sat there. Melissa was gone when I finally looked. No sign of her, no broken tape, nothing. The black box they'd left on my bed was gone too. When I checked the subreddit the next day, the post was gone. My profile was gone. Even the search history on my laptop was wiped clean. The only thing left was a single message in my inbox from the black square avatar. You're part of the feed now. I never called the police. I never told my landlord. I didn't tell anyone.